magnet is lifted up by the strength electric particles inside the vial, and you see that create magnetic.
Ну, вызов идет, если вы можете смотреть, видите. Такая вот непонятная хреновина. Интересно, в голове у нас то же самое творится. Когда я первый раз это обнаружил, даже страшно стало. Ну все, я выключаю. Ну, пожалуйста, все. Так не действует ничего. Как только мы опять звоним.
Everything frozen on the 5G tower. These birds are froze to death. Stuck, electrocuted, stuck in the center of something.
And some are very self-assembly.
So we, we'll have to prepare for the next one. That, I'd say is, will get attention this time.
See a microchip implant at the injection site. In the video in the middle, we can see that the implant is primarily made of graphene, comes out as a black clump at the macroscopic level. But in the world of microbiology, graphene is the building block for nanotechnology. Graphene, like Legos, can snap together and build structures designed by a computer, a supercomputer.
And maybe they don't have the same resolution as you or something, but they said my blood looked great and all that.
And so, first, what you see here, you see this polymer filament, so that can be inhaled. Like I said, it can come from shedding. And what you see is that the blood is kind of not moving, and it is in what's called rouleau formation. So if we zoom in, so rouleau formation means that instead of the blood being free flowing, it is clumpy, okay? So you see this thing is completely artificial. It's made of a polymer plastic, and it isn't supposed to be there. And then what you see, for example, here, stand by, you see that the blood is sort of, in this, like I said, rouleau formation. So all of the red blood cells, they are not giving off oxygen. And you see this blinking light right here? That's a micro robot. You see that? So I can zoom in a little bit more just to show you. So it's not normal for the blood to be clumped up like that, and so that will decrease the oxygen delivery, and so it's also not normal for things to be blinking. So this micro robot is stealing the electricity from your red blood cells, changing the zeta potential of the red blood cells, so then it just starts to be like glue, stick together. What I call construction zones. So if you see here, here's another large filament, and so normal blood would be looking, like a free flow of blood, and what you see is this is the largest magnification 100 times. And one capillary, one of the little arteries, is as big as one red blood cell. So you see this is hundreds of times larger. And if this goes into a bad artery, it can cause problems with microcirculation, and it can cause problems with, things like heart attacks, strokes, rubbery clots, all of that. So basically what I do is I use the stuff called EDTA and vitamin C, and I help to clean that up. But you see these nothing in the body is supposed to be blinking. So these blinking robots, they continue to assemble this. That's a micro robot right here, this bubble. And you see how big this is. So all of these bubbles here are robots, nanobots, and they are assembling this thing. You see that the center of this one is emitting red light, and then you see it blinking right there. So, you know, this stuff is now in humanity's blood, and it causes accelerated aging and ultimately, you know, a lot of endocrine disruption, meaning low hormone levels. And so then what you see, for example, here is, so you see an area where exactly what I showed you earlier. Here are some construction zones. Construction zones means, you know, this is like this polymer zone that from the nanoscale, you know, is growing all of these bubbles. So eventually it creates some technology, a microchip or one of those filaments. And you see how all the blood has been harvested here. So the blood is no longer viable here. So this is like a rubbery clot. Sometimes you see the bubbles popping in here. But right here, so the cells are in severe oxidative stress. They're basically dying because they've been hijacked by this technology. Bubbles or construction zones will actually create a piece of technology, and then you can see that, like for example here you have an assembled chip that's a microchip. And so I've shown in my book also that the unvaccinated have the similar chips like targeted individuals, and you see here the micro robots, and there's integrative circuitry, and that then is what is transmitting the biometric data to the cloud. It sounds like science fiction, but once you see it, I mean, it's like, I can show you. So all of these things, like you see over here, you see the construction zone and the blood that's been harvested. So the biggest thing, though, is that a lot of the blood isn't moving, right? So if I just show you here, for example, this is somebody who came here. This is somebody who came, you know, before treatment. You see these polymer filaments, and you see significant oxidative stress and a lot of construction zones. So, you know, after 3 days of treatment, you know, the blood looks like this. I mean, much improved. This is normal blood. Okay, so it's not supposed to be clumpy like that.
You can now see that the nanotech is totally destroyed by the nicotine mixture. Dr. Brian Ardis stated that nicotine was the very thing that could destroy nanotechnology. Rafa has confirmed exactly that. Please share this video everywhere. We are now looking at how we can deliver nicotine in the correct dosage in a liposomal form, just like the liposomal and microsomal that we use on the EDTA, which obviously gets rid of the spike protein shedding and helps in vaccine injury. This is life-changing. So to confirm again, what you're seeing here is nicotine steeped in distilled water being placed on dental anesthetics, and you can literally see the nanotechnology dissolve, be destroyed and dispersed. Obviously putting this on any platform puts us in danger, as we know, but somebody has to show the solutions to these pollutions. And we are a team of microscopists that don't want to make money out of anybody. We want to give you free solutions. We're not affiliated to tobacco industry or nicotine, but obviously you need nicotine in its purest form. Tobacco and the tobacco industry obviously put harmful substances in that. So you need tobacco at its purest form and nicotine at its purest form. So watch this space on liposomal, on microsomal nicotine.
Made parasite intended to control the host human if it doesn't kill them first in the process. Perhaps that is what the mad scientists and psychopaths are after. Human genetics that can withstand this new invasive and deadly nanotech.
Is putting in the gel. This is dispensing this gel that has graphene oxide. Why I'm doing this? Why a citizen should be doing this in Canada? Isn't this a job for Health Canada? Things are dangerous. This is unacceptable.
And they symbolically show Greta Thunberg on one of the magazines with black goo on her face. Looks just like graphene.
How dare you! They're developed, ready for high volume manufacturing. Vial on the left demonstrates the graphene challenge well. Now, industry have been working with this, overcoming it either with high loading, additives such as surfactants, high shear mixing, and other methods. These all increase costs in manufacturing and impact and quality. On the right is the same material, same amount, treated with our HD60 lab scale reactor. This is less power than the kettle. Now, this is the required functional groups that want to interact with the matrix.
Okay, so have a sanitary napkin here. See how thin it is? All right. If you notice, it has the 3D sides on it. The sides are amazing, the protective sides, okay? Now, if you notice, nothing happens, right? It's a 7-watt light bulb. If you take it, you open this up. Here's the strip. Nothing happens. Once it gets wet, put it in the water. Once the graphene is infused strip, boom, it works.
That graphene oxide is a key component in all of this. There have been dozens of official documented studies on the use of graphene oxide related to how we see it being used here today. Among other things, as a power converter. Graphene, a 1-atom-thick layer of hexagonally arranged carbon atoms, is the thinnest and strongest material known to man, and an outstanding conductor of heat and electricity. It can boost gigahertz frequencies into terahertz, which is exactly what these new nanotech machines need for power. In order to do this, the graphene first needs a frequency to power it, and the optimal frequency to externally power graphene is known to be 26 gigahertz, which is also the frequency put out by 5G. In this model, the graphene within the body is activated by microwave signals in the gigahertz range, which it then boosts into the terahertz range, which then powers the novel nanotech machinery to self-assemble within the human body. Once assembled, what do these nanotech machines do? The images, compared to the scientific literature, suggest that they are the foundation of an internal electronic system with an endless potential for biomanipulation of the human host. Nanorouters that emit MAC addresses, able to be registered via Bluetooth. Nano and plasma antennas to amplify signals. Nanorectennas acting as rectifier bridges from AC to DC current. Codecs and logic gates for encryption of communication. The raw material for all this self-assembly is also graphene oxide. And when we compare known side effects of graphene oxide to the side effects of the vaccines, we find them to be the same. Once graphene oxide is injected into the body, it acquires magnetic properties, predictably around the injection site, the heart, and the brain. Graphene is seen as a pathogen by our immune system and will often result in paralysis and stroke. Graphene is known to cause blood clots and heart conditions. Graphene oxide can generate small discharges, causing cardiac arrhythmia. There is so much going on with these experimentals, and the evidence seems clear that there is a mass experiment going on, with certain batches marked more deadly than others, and with certain batches that contain a bold new technology akin to a man-made parasite intended to control the host human if it doesn't kill them first in the process.
But in an interesting way, this is actually part and parcel of the whole movement towards robotics. It's not only making individual warfighters comfortable with robots, it's this idea of coupling man and machine and merging humans and machine. And DARPA is doing that with programs now with what they call biohybrids, which people might call cyborgs. You know, they are able to actually control the rats through a labyrinth remotely because they've implanted electrodes in its brain. They can do the same with a moth. DARPA in 2014 created a steerable moth by inserting electrodes in the pupa stage of the moth, which then transformed. The wings came out, and this part of the machinery is now part of the animal system.
This is little robots building something. This is not supposed to happen. This is not normal. I mean, these dead erythrocytes, platelets would not be jumping like this. These are not platelets. Whatever they're building, oh my God. These are little robots. Look at that. Oh my God.
In terms of what we see in the blood, I'm now seeing as much of a problem in the blood in people that haven't been vaccinated as people that have been vaccinated.
Tags ended up in every organ, in every place of the human body. And it says that an average of 93.3 functioning tags per intravenous payload were injected per patient. 93 tags. What's also shocking is this next slide, where it's talking about how some of the participants in this trial were women, and some of them were pregnant. When they had babies, there were already chips in the babies. An average of 3, in one case 16 chips in the baby that came out of its mother's womb. Not to mention there were also partners that weren't part of this 2,739 people, but were sexually involved with them, and they got chips. They got tags just by being in sexual contact with someone who wasn't the participant. So these chips can spread. This is, I mean, to me, this is super scary. Even if you've known about the microchipping, nanochip agenda for a while with smart dust and all the ways that they're putting it in chemtrails and all the other vectors they have it get into the body. I mean, this is truly scary to see all these slideshows, see this company that's a major UK company that's doing it in combination with Pfizer. It just ties it all together. And like I said, this has been going on. These slides talk about a time frame when this was launched of 2016, and this being ready to be launched in 2020 was rolled out. Now we're in 2024, 4 years later, so who knows how much proliferation has happened with these. I will conclude this video by saying that the ultimate aims of chipping, there are many. One is obviously the surveillance, so that they know where you are at all times, and they don't need you to have a cell phone. It makes rebellion or revolution difficult or impossible if every single citizen can be tracked just like that. Second aim is the remote control of thoughts and emotions. By sending signals to these chips, they can alter your mental state, your emotional state, they can induce moods. Crowd control weapons, all of this has been known for a long time. I've discussed it in my books.
I think that's fairly definitive. So what we want to know now, is it the medicine inside, is it the capsule? What's creating the magnetism? Let's chop this up.
Shows us that graphene oxide is a key component in all of this. There have been dozens of official documented studies on the use of graphene oxide related to how we see it being used here today. Among other things, as a power converter. Graphene, a one-atom-thick layer of hexagonally arranged carbon atoms, is the thinnest and strongest material known to man, and an outstanding conductor of heat and electricity. It can boost gigahertz frequencies into terahertz, which is exactly what these new nanotech machines need for power. In order to do this, the graphene first needs a frequency to power it. And the optimal frequency to externally power graphene is known to be 26 gigahertz, which is also the frequency put out by 5G. In this model, the graphene within the body is activated by microwave signals in the gigahertz range, which it then boosts into the terahertz range, which then powers the novel nanotech machinery to self-assemble within the human body. Once assembled, what do these nanotech machines do? The images, compared to the scientific literature, suggest that they are the foundation of an internal electronic system with an endless potential for biomanipulation of the human host. Nanorouters that emit MAC addresses, able to be registered via Bluetooth. Nano and plasma antennas to amplify signals. Nanorectennas acting as rectifier bridges from AC to DC current. Codecs and logic gates for encryption of communication. The raw material for all this self-assembly is also graphene oxide. And when we compare known side effects of graphene oxide to the side effects of the COVID-19 vaccines, we find them to be the same. Once graphene oxide is injected into the body, it acquires magnetic properties, predictably around the injection site, the heart, and the brain. Graphene is seen as a pathogen by our immune system and will often result in paralysis and stroke. graphene is known to cause blood clots and heart conditions. Graphene oxide can generate small discharges, causing cardiac arrhythmia. There is so much going on with these experimental vaccines, and the evidence seems clear that there is a mass experiment going on, with certain batches marked more deadly than others, and with certain batches that contain a bold new technology akin to a man-made parasite intended to control the host human if it doesn't kill them first in the process.
Scientists have suggested the material could potentially get into the human body with ease.
It can transmit and receive energy, messages or frequencies or impulses.
That's the kind of death we're talking about when they're hit with a pulsed microwave 5G signal.
Patent 6506148, nervous system manipulation by electromagnetic fields for monitors. We know there's the propaganda on TV. We know that there's the flicker rate that puts you in a dream state, highly suggestible. But this is more than that. And DARPA in the mainstream news and the Baltimore Sun saying, oh, we're testing towers to calm you during emergencies. So there's this coming out of this.
Cell phone tower is a giant microwave oven on a stick. Cell phone towers use a magnetron or an oscillator like a microwave oven to make microwaves. That's how they communicate. Radars use the very same technology. That part that's beaming into the dish is a magnetron. just like a microwave oven and just like a cell phone tower. Now let's do a quick comparison to put things into perspective so that you can appreciate, so that you can wrap your mind around what we're trying to tell you here. 2 hair dryers together use about 2,000 watts of power, or 2 kilowatts. That's the same amount of power a telecommunications satellite uses to send a signal 20,000 miles away back to Earth. So 2 hair dryers equal the power used by a communications satellite to broadcast the length equivalent to the entire planet. And the Earth is about 20,000 miles wide. To broadcast the entire Earth, it takes 2 kilowatts, 2 hair dryers. Now, a microwave oven uses 1,000 watts, or 1 kilowatt. Here's the damage 1 kilowatt can be done by somebody when they take a magnetron out of a microwave and turn it into a ray gun. This is just a small example of a low-tech weapon running on 1,000 watts. Then you have these things here, these huge towers of death. Now, each row in this tower, an array, or a set of dishes or rectennas or whatever you want to call them, is connected to a cable with a maximum power output of 300,000 watts, or 300 kilowatts. That's 300 microwave ovens. We base that conservative estimate based on the gauge of the cabling that's running up to one of these arrays. They're estimated at 300,000 watts per cable. Those aren't fiber optic cables running up to those arrays. It's a thick copper gauge transmission line quality cable running up those towers. Now, if there's 10 cables, that's like 3 megawatts of power. And these cables are out there to output power to the magnetron, not for data transfer. That's an important point. These cell phone towers are weaponized. There's no other reason to have this much power running up the cables. It isn't for data transfer. Now, FCC regulations limit normal transmission per array to about 400 watts. To put that into perspective, 1 watt from your phone can go 25 miles to the nearest tower. A 1,000 watt magnetron on a stick can blow shit up. And these towers have a 300 kilowatt power line running up to each rectenna. And who knows, there could be an amplifier at the top of these towers that steps up the power even more. The point is here, ladies and gentlemen, is that these companies, like Lucent and Google, could turn up the juice at any time and nuke a town. They could nuke the entire country. They could fake a reason to turn on the last line of defense. The anti-foreign invasion, anti-zombie apocalypse defense network. Oh, these contingencies are out there, ladies and gentlemen. Like a nuke in every city, a nuke from each side, so that makes it at least 2 nukes per city in the world right now. That's how serious things are. That's how the clandestine world works. Add in these cell phone towers of death and the question becomes why? And the answer is because when they're ready, they'll end it all and move on to reconstruction of the post-human age. Our only possible defense is to stop them now.
It's moving. Computer, it's moving.
Unfortunately, it does come with some negatives.
Entails an interview with a PhD environmental testing scientist who confirmed that of nearly 100 precipitation tests, there was the presence of graphene nanoparticles.
With a new type of radiation called millimeter waves. Health experts are warning about the rising risks with a 5G rollout.
It's not been made clear to the public that 5G won't just be another number and letter on your cell phone. It requires an entirely new infrastructure of thousands of small cellular antennas to be erected throughout cities where it's going to be installed.
What would 5G infrastructure look like? Small cell antennas could be placed as close as every third hydro pole. Scientists from 42 countries are now warning their governments about the emerging health problems associated with wireless radiation. And Canadian doctors and scientists have added their voices.
Oxide, it's everywhere. In your food, in your vaccines, in nasal swabs, face masks, 5G systems, water purification tech, even in aerosol sprays. You name it, it's there. But the real concern, it's not just where it is, it's what it connects to. Graphene oxide is highly conductive, magnetic, capable of self-assembling under certain frequencies, able to interface with neurons and DNA. Some say it's the backbone of the human operating system update, a signal sponge, turning flesh into networked node. This isn't medicine, it's integration.